before we get into how to set the camera up, let's have a look at what we can do with it. This is the DC Designs F14. This is the Bravo variant, and I have to say, having flown it outside, it has some of the best sound effects I have heard. I mean, listen to that engine, the howl. Later on you'll hear the whistle when I go to idle. It is phenomenal to fly from the outside. Pretty darn tricky, I have to say, and stay tuned if you want to see some of the simpler aircraft to fly, but this one does put a grin on my face. I didn't say it was easy, and I didn't say it would all go perfectly. But top tips for flying this aircraft is don't go too fast. If you go too fast, your turn radius increases, and then bad things happen. So I use burner on the way up, and on the way down I go to idle, and on a couple of the clips you'll see in a moment, you'll hear that whistle of the jet engine. It sounds beautiful. It makes my hair stand on end. It just sounds so realistic. If you heard this whilst you're in your house, you'd rush to the window going, what is it and where is it coming from? But I let you listen to some of the sound effects as it comes back in. Listen for the whistle. Oh, that is so much fun. I have tried this in the F18, and unfortunately, because the F18 uses a lot of alpha, a lot of drag, you can get stuck slow speed, and it's just unrecoverable. It's really tricky to fly from the outside. The F14 gladly is brilliant. Now you'll see me go out of afterburner now. Puff of smoke, love it. This is the reverse Cubanate. And really important to pull the power, otherwise you just spear into the ground. I'll take it for one final pass and we'll jump into something a little bit slower and easier to manage. Nice. Moving on to something slower. This is the Sbach 342 by LivToAir. And I'll preview their Corvette as well at the end of the video. But this is like an extra 300, and actually I find it slightly easier to fly from the outside. The only slight bugbear is you can hear a lot of wind noise, but you can turn that down in the sound volumes if you want to fly this more often. But it's so easy to fly, really easy to keep close to the camera, lots of aerobatics, but that's not to say it's not challenging. Because if you pull too far, it will auto-rotate and spin into the ground, so watch out for that. But I have to say, luck, probably more luck than judgment, is I managed to land it, and almost on the runway, which is what I'll do now. Nice livery, by the way. So here we go, I'm going to do a right-hand turn, pretty difficult in the distance, but you'll hear me chop the power in just a second. There it goes. And then almost a three-pointer, and pretty much on the runway. This is, of course, if I haven't mentioned before, it's a Shoreham airfield, a scenery by Orbex. And I picked it because there's a large grassy area for those type of aircraft. Now, talking of prop aircraft and grass takeoffs, here is a Parallel 42 FreedomFox Duo. Now I'm using Join FS recorder function, which is freely available, and I've recorded the first aircraft and I'm just following it in the second aircraft. And busting the tower is just so enjoyable. But you can hear the stall warner, and the nice thing about the stall warner is it gets kind of higher pitch the closer to the stall you get. So you can confidently fly this close to the limits, although, spoiler alert, it doesn't always save you. But I guess there's no limit to how many aircraft you layer up using the recorder function. But after I got to 2, I kind of started crashing more, so I gave up. And the FreedomFox is aerobatic as well, so you can do everything you could in the Sbach, but with a Stovall aircraft. And the landings are pretty easy because you can go really slow and you can hear the stall warn. So really easy to fly this aircraft. Having said that, like I say, if you pull too hard, it will spin. Yeah. Alright, moving swiftly on into the High Performance Group H145 in United Nation livery, available on flightsim.to, and using the controls, I'm using stick and throttle and rudder pedals. It's pretty tricky, especially when you're flying from in front of the aircraft with the controls reversed. But it looks excellent, it sounds brilliant, especially with the shadow. Now, this is the base pack version, not the action pack, but it's got missiles and guns, and there's an AI aircraft coming this way, so it'd be rude not to, right? It's a little bit Grand Theft Auto, but so much fun. I guess you can, with the action pack, you can use the firefighting version and the med version and do some pickups and drop-offs as well. I guess there's so much potential with just remote controlling it, but it is pretty darn tricky in a helicopter. Although I'm pretty proud of this next shot, because you see that AI aircraft is parking up for some refueling. Boom! And a nice crater. Hours of entertainment. Okay, this is just a look at the Corvette because I bought it. It's another LivToAir product, formerly known as Gamer Deal. But the sound effects are pretty naff, if I'm being honest. And the dynamics of driving on the ground are a little bit naff. But it looks great. That's kind of where it stops, but it's fun. I am driving a Chevrolet Corvette, but it shows how much potential this sim has for doing stuff like this. Now, if you want a freeware vehicle to drive around, this is the Oshkosh Striker, and it's fantastic. Look at this. I can shoot out water. That's the flap keybind. A couple of stages for 2 different pressures, but you can drive it around and put out fires, which is just excellent, and it sounds quite good actually. You can kind of tell it's a prop sound effect, but it fits. And the handling on the ground is a lot better than the Corvette. And it's free, so why haven't you got it? I'll put a link in the description, but that's a lot of fun as well. I definitely recommend that vehicle. Okay, enough of that. How to set up. First of all, pick your area. This is Shoreham. Click fly. Let's zoom it forwards so we're on the runway. I found the quickest way of moving the camera initially is to slew. So I've got a slew keybind. I'll move it across to where the air traffic tower is. Of course you can move it anywhere. You can put your camera anywhere. And if you don't want to move the aircraft, of course you can go straight to drone cam and leave the aircraft where it is. Completely up to you. But this is how I've done it. You may see it's quite short takeoff, but I'll cover that in a minute. So here's drone cam. I'm using an Xbox controller to move it around. A couple of really important things you need to do before you move the aircraft, otherwise it will just be frustrating. So first of all, check your area so it's a good view. I'm using TrackIR for obvious reasons. Now I'll pause it here to talk about this. You must unclick the follow mode so your camera doesn't move with the aircraft. You can use the drone lock mode, but some aircraft it doesn't quite work, and it does follow the aircraft, but it leads and lags a little bit. Or the drone speed is what you can dial up and make faster if you don't want to move the aircraft, you just want to move the camera quickly. But you'll notice that when you move the controls, you can't control the aircraft unless you press the C key. Really important. So now I can control the aircraft, but I can't control the camera other than my TrackIR. Okay, so there's the trade-off. But now I need to take off. So if you slew up while stationary and then release it, it flies off. Some aircraft don't, a lot of aircraft do, and that's a quick way of getting airborne if you don't want to do a takeoff roll. Or you've got a fast jet and you just want to get airborne. If you haven't already, please subscribe, please like this video if you thought it was interesting, but most importantly, get to your simulator and have some fun with it. and I hope you'll join me for the next video. Until then, take care.